2 of them.
When?
The 3rd week of July.
So practically as soon as you moved in. When did you move out?
The 29th of July.
So you stayed a very short time.
Correct.
And according to what I read, you had a falling out over childcare and what you were doing. According to the defendant, you were having a little too good a party time. Now, you said that you left a valuable ring there when you left. Where did you leave the ring?
In the kitchen.
You leave it there by mistake?
Yes.
Who did you give it to at work?
A woman named Maxine.
You know that person?
Yes.
Did she give you the ring?
Yes.
So you have the ring?
The reason why I have the ring is because I called her, she didn't answer her phone, so I text messaged her.
I don't care. You have the ring? Maxine gave you the ring? Good. Then that's all I care about. What other property did you leave there?
An entertainment center, a dresser, a chest, a mirror.
Furniture?
Yes.
What'd you do with the furniture?
I threw most of it away.
Why?
Because she left it at my house, Your Honor, and she never answered the phone anytime I called her. She would text me back, never calling me back, saying that she would come the next week to pick up the furniture. She never did.
I have phone records that show that I've called her, and all these phone records show that she hasn't called me once, except for on the 29th of October when Henry had called her and told her we were coming to pick up my stuff, and she hung up the phone on him.
29th of October?
Yes, but I have phone records that show that I've called her on the 15th of August when she hung up on me.
8:15.
And 8:23 I called her 3 different times.
8:23. Did you speak to her on any of those occasions?
I left her a message. The reason why she...
Just a second. You didn't speak to... Were you all working at the same place?
Yes, but that Friday she had quit working there.
Well, then you weren't working at the same place. 3rd.
No.
August 15th.
No.
Okay. So August, we go into September, we go into the entire month of October. Why didn't you sue her for the return of your property?
Because every time I tried to call her, it was a matter of when my brother could take me to get my stuff. And she told me the only way I could get my stuff back, she wanted me to pay her $150 for staying there, $40 for using her perfume, and what was it, $100 for something else.
So she told you that?
Yes, she text messaged me that.
Just a second. So she told you that as far as she was concerned, you owed her for rent.
Correct.
That's correct.
And I don't know about the perfume. I have no idea about the... But you owed her for rent.
Correct. So,
And she was keeping your property...
correct.
Until you paid her for rent.
Correct.
When was that text message?
That was on the 20th of August.
Well, then you knew on the 20th of August that you weren't going to get your furniture back until you paid rent.
Okay.
And you waited 2.5 months after that to sue her for your property.
Okay.
Well, that's unreasonable.
She was actually telling other people that she...
You can't tell me what she told other people.
Okay, well,
That's
she has
hearsay.
the dressers and stuff. She said she was going to keep that for her children.
That's hearsay.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask her where all the stuff is.
Okay.
And she's going to tell me. Is your father here?
Yes, he's right there.
Step up, please. Your last name is?
Levy, same.
Mr. Levy, the second part of your daughter's lawsuit is that when you called Miss Amrit about, I gather, this furniture,
Right.
She said something about your daughter. When did you call her?
It was in August. My son... Well,
That was in October. Called her.
is it that late?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I left a message on her answer machine because my wife was calling and calling, and I didn't want to get involved. And my wife was calling her and never getting an answer.
I'm talking about you, sir.
All right. What happened was she called me back after I left a message on her answer machine. Once she called me back, I said, "Where's the furniture?" She said, "I don't have it anymore. I gave it away."
Well, that's not true. Miss Amrit didn't do that. You didn't give away all the furniture. You didn't dispose of all... Miss Amrit, look at me. You didn't dispose of all the furniture. Some of the furniture you still have. Is this your child?
Yes.
You don't want to lie in front of your child, do you?
No.
You still have some of the furniture.
No, Your Honor.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And that's a very bad thing to fib in front of your daughter. I don't believe people just give away stuff. You may have sold it.
Oh, well, correct, Your Honor. Some
What?
of it, yes, Your Honor.
Oh, well, that's a different story than threw it away. Sold it is a different story. Who did you sell it to?
A gentleman that I know.
Whose name is?
His name is Lemuel,
Usually people have two names.
is his last name.
And how much did you sell the furniture for?
$200, Your Honor.
Did he purchase all the furniture?
No, not all of it.
What did he purchase?
He purchased a black entertainment center.
What else?
That was it.
What about the two chests?
The two chests.
The two chests. I ask the questions, you answer me, Miss Amrit. Where are the two chests?
They're no longer at my house, Your Honor.
Miss Amrit, don't play with me. Where are they?
I threw them away, Your Honor. I had a truck come and take them away.
I don't think I believe you. See, you lie once, you get caught in a fib once. Okay, I'd like you to tell me what she said to you about your daughter's behavior.
Okay. Right.
Your daughter is also suing for slander.
What happened was, after she told me about the furniture, she said, I had to get your daughter out of the house because she was using cocaine in the house in front of my kids. And I know that doesn't happen because, you know, I'm back and forth with my daughter. I'm raising 2 of the kids. And during the summer, I had all 4 most of the time. And I see her all week.
You think she listens to you?
My daughter? No, I know that. She don't always listen.
I have a drug
but
test.
I could tell if she's high on drugs, especially cocaine or something. And she took a voluntary drug test.
Yeah, I took a voluntary drug test.
Did you take a hair follicle test?
No, this is just
an
observed.
Shh, listen to me. Did you take a hair follicle test? You took a urine test?
Correct.
Listen, Miss Levy, I've been in the business a long time. You want to do a hair follicle test?
That's fine.
Fine. Do a hair follicle test. That part of your lawsuit that has to do with slander and drugs, I'll hold in abeyance.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay? That'll tell you within the last year whether you've used any drugs and what kind of drugs you've used.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. You understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now you can sit down.
All right.
Talk to your daughter about birth control. That would be useful.
It's fixed.
Miss Amrit, you can't dispose of her property as cavalierly as you did. I believe you were annoyed that she had not given you any money, that she used some of your property, that the whole business was an unpleasant experience. So I believe that what you did was you sold some of it, maybe you kept some, maybe you gave some to your relatives, maybe you sold some for your relatives. You can't do that. Can I see the bills for the furniture, please?
Yes. That, and then I have this. And the couch and the high chair I have pictures of. I don't have a receipt for that.
What'd you do with the sofa?
I threw it away. It was awful.
Carson's Furniture and Bedding, is this all the stuff that you bought?
The ones that are checked on the side, the dresser, the mirror, the entertainment center.
A dresser, mirror, and a 4-door chest, is that right?
Yes, and the entertainment center.
All this property was purchased, the delivery date was February 2005. So what you're telling me is you gave away a mirror that was new, a 4-door chest that was new, and you sold an entertainment center. Is that what you're telling me?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Now, did you have any sort of an agreement with her to pay rent?
No.
Tell me about the agreement that you say you had for rent.
Your Honor, I'm a single mother. I explained to Miss Levy that I could not afford to support anyone else in my home, so she would have to pay something to me for rent. We agreed upon $150 a week for everything, Your Honor.
You mean food? Who would shop?
Correct.
Excuse me, I bought $200 worth of groceries a week before I left. So the groceries were paid for.
Okay. Miss Amber, you owe her $606. You can't dispose of her property. You can't sell her property. I believe that her family tried to contact you. I believe that you didn't want to be contacted.
That's not...
Unless you have a bill to show me of the truck that you hired to come and dispose of her property, other than the entertainment center, which you acknowledged that you told, I don't believe that you hired a truck to come and take the property out of your garage. Do you understand? And I wouldn't fib in front of my child. It's not a good thing. That's all. Step out.
Dorothy Kavanaugh says her son's ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Klein, made false charges to Child Protective Services. Stephanie is countersuing, claiming Dorothy's actions caused her to be fired.
Miss Kavanaugh, the defendant and your son were in a long-term relationship, although I don't see here that they were ever married. Is that true? Not married?
No, we weren't.
But you have 3 children together?
Yes, we do.
So how long did this relationship last?
Lasted 16 years.
Just curiosity, is there any reason why you chose not to marry?
I don't really believe in marriage. I'm too afraid to get married. Divorce is too expensive.
Your claim is that Miss Klein has some property that belongs to you.
Yes, she does.
In her home.
Yes.
After, of course, your son left. You want it back. And you also claim that Miss Klein made false charges to the Child Protective Services Agency about you, causing you severe stress. Miss Klein says she did not make those calls to Child Protective Services. She knows who did.
Yeah.
She says her girls did.
My girls did, and also Cassie and Christy, who are her witnesses.
And
they did it at their house.
And she said they found things that were troublesome to them. As far as the property is concerned, she says the property is hers. The property we're talking about is a pool table, is that right?
No, it's a poker
table.
card table or coffee table.
Okay. According to what you said, Ms. Kavanaugh, in your complaint, you gave this poker table, this table, to your son as a gift.
I lent it to him.
No, that's not what you said. You said you gave it to your son as a gift. You want me to read you what you wrote?
No, that's fine.
Just, I know that you dispute that. I had given my son a custom-built poker table for his birthday.
Correct.
So let's deal with the poker table because that makes my life very easy. You have no interest whatsoever in the poker table.
Okay.
Got it? Once
Yes.
you give a gift, the gift is gone. And I don't see your son here. If he wants the poker table back, and if it's his, it's certainly not marital property because these people weren't married. So if he wants the poker table back, he can have it. But you can't because it doesn't belong to you. It would be like birds suing for the poker table. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get to the allegations of abuse and or neglect that were made to Child Protective Services. When did your son and the defendant separate?
February, she threw him out.
Were you working during the 16 years you lived together?
Yes, I was. I was basically the only one working in the relationship.
What were you doing?
I managed 2 bowling centers.
And who took care of the children?
Anthony usually did, and Dorothy.
What kind of work does Anthony do?
He worked on cars on the side.
No steady job?
No.
Why doesn't your son have a steady job?
He did have a steady job. He worked at the garage. It was in his name. He did have a steady job. He had his own garage at 25.
You mean for the 16 years that they lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he file tax returns on that?
No, he did not.
Well, if he had his own business and if he was making money, then that's a very serious crime that he committed by not filing tax returns for 16 years. Here he's got his mother swearing under oath that he had his own business.
He did on the side.
Kavanaugh.
He did on the side, yes.
What do you mean on the side? On the side is something that you do when you have a full-time job elsewhere,
True.
Ms. Kavanaugh.
True.
On the side is not what you do when you have 3 children.
That's true. I agree with that.
Where is he?
He's working right now.
Doing what?
He works for Twin City Transmission.
What happened to his garage?
It was closed down after Stephanie and him got into trouble and separated.
Due to his alcohol and drug problem, he's on probation right now. And that's why he had to leave the home, because I did not want that around my kids. Took me a long time, but I was a victim of domestic violence until I got strong enough to do it on my own.
Fine. Well, he's certainly not here supporting his mother.
Or his children.
What makes you think that the defendant called Child Protective Services?
Because of the paperwork that I have and the statements that they made.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
No, don't give me all this paperwork, Ms. Kavanaugh. I want you to show me where in this that a call was made to this Child Protective Services by Miss Klein.
Well, they don't do that.
Well, so
They don't-
what I want you to tell me is you direct my attention to somewhere in this stack of papers to evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services.
Then it would have to come from my witness who told me that.
Fine. Who's the witness? That would be you. Stand up. Who are you?
Christy.
How are you related to these people?
That's my grandma.
But that's not your mother, so you have different parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you live, Christy?
Down the street from her. And
Down the street from your grandmother. Who do you live with?
my mom.
Now tell me what you know about Miss Klein calling Child Protective Services.
Her oldest daughter did.
Well, her oldest daughter is not her. Christy, listen to me very carefully. Do you know anything about Miss Klein
No.
calling Child Protective Services?
No.
Sit down. You have any other witnesses, Miss Kavanaugh?
I have Cassandra.
Be very careful if you're going to stand up here. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Stand up. Do you have any evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
That was being good and careful. Yes, Miss Kavanaugh.
Okay, there's also a countersuit from Stephanie that I called.
I
for
haven't
her
gotten to
to-
the countersuit yet.
Okay. Well,
Do you have any other evidence that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services about your care of your children or grandchildren?
other than the piece of paper here that states that they investigated both her and I, which is
That's why I called him myself.
my name.
Shh.
Stephanie and all 3 children. It
So the
states that
answer
it was
is you have
unfounded.
no, listen to me, so the answer is you have no evidence that it was Miss Klein who called Child Protective
No,
Services.
I cannot prove it was
So
her.
your case
No.
is dismissed in its entirety. The poker table doesn't belong to you, and you have no proof whatsoever that Miss Klein called Child Protective Services. So I don't even have to get into the fact that if she called them, whether what she said was true. Now I'll get to the counterclaim. Your counterclaim is that Ms. Kavanaugh called Child Protective Services with regard to you, your care of the children, and because of her harassment, you lost your job. I'd like to hear it.
I can't prove that she called, but
Then if you can't prove
yeah,
that she
that's-
called, then you have
that
no
I
case.
I'm not positive that she called. Kids were visited because of it, in which they stated that Dorothy.
You can't tell me what they stated. Not necessary. I don't have to reach that threshold
Okay.
question because neither of you has any proof that the other was
That-
responsible for calling Child Protective Services.
That's part of
Let
my
me deal
case.
with Child Protective Services, these calls back and forth, whomever they came from. Calling Child Protective Services is like calling 911. You call 911 when there is some emergency, when you feel as if somebody is being threatened, when you feel as somebody is being placed at risk. And I'm not saying that those things weren't the case with these allegations that were made by whomever they were made. But it should be a felony jurisdiction, a very serious crime, for people to use calls to Child Protective Services in order to either incite or resolve or for retaliation or for retribution about some other issue because they have limited enough resources at Child Protective Services to investigate real allegations of neglect and abuse. And when people use that Child Protective hotline for other reasons, it infuriates me. And if it was my world, they'd be in jail if that's what they're using the hotline for. Having said that, we will move on to the next cause of action in your counterclaim, which is that Ms. Kavanaugh caused you to lose your job.
Yes, I had her as a sitter, also her son, who would drop the kids off to her even after I asked not to. She would get upset with them, drop them off at my work several times. She would drop them off at home unsupervised. She'd have them sitting on the porch in the middle of winter. She once set Jordan on the porch in the middle of winter with just a towel on because she didn't want to shower with her 10-year-old grandson, and she was 11 going through puberty at the time, which is disgusting.
Ms. Klein, listen to me. If what you're telling me is that because she wasn't a good babysitter, that caused you lots of stress,
Yes.
put your hand down. And you ultimately didn't show up for work and it caused you to lose your job, you have options. Your option is get rid of her as a
I
babysitter.
then did, and
Then you can't sue her. I
And
mean,
got
that's your
Chrissy.
option.
Well, she called my work, harassing my boss, calling the cops on him. I got the
Well,
letter
just
for
one
that.
second. Is your boss here?
No, but I have a letter stated to me why I was fired and a
I'd like to see the letter.
complaint from the Tonawanda Police Department.
I'd just like to see the letter first. Okay. Can I see the report to the police department? Did you at any time have her son arrested for anything? She says yes.
He used to
For
be-
what?
Harassment.
Well, he probably was harassing her because he's a drug addict. That's what she says. Is that true? Put your hand down. Is that true?
Not anymore. He
I don't
doesn't.
care if it's not anymore. You mean not today?
Not today, but she also is.
Listen, who's taking care of the 3 children? Who's taking care of the 3 children?
At the moment,
Yes.
a girl who had their children taken away from them, so I
Who do
heard.
the 3 children live with? I'm not talking about at this
Oh,
moment
they live
while
with the
she's
mother.
here. They live with the mother, not with your son.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So, when did you have him arrested?
Actually, I had him arrested once, a couple times. I had to have him removed from the house because he would come in when we were sleeping. He broke in when we weren't home, slept in my bed when I went away.
These sources are 2006. Anything
Yeah.
happened in 2007 that's been harassment?
No.
Okay.
There was. I was afraid to do it. She's evil and very
What do you
vindictive.
want?
We both filed harassment against each other.
Well, I don't know why you should have anything to do with her except positive things with regard to your grandchildren, Miss Kavanaugh. You
I
have a
took
son
her-
that's problematic.
I took her
You
to
have,
court.
listen to me
Yes.
carefully.
Yes.
You have a son who's a problem.
Yes.
You have the mother of your grandchildren who has been supporting the family for 16 years because your son is a bum. There's no question that he's a bum, because there's no question that they had to file tax returns because she worked for a company that wouldn't have paid her under the table. That your son, if he was working at all, which I somehow doubt, certainly has not filed tax returns and has not paid his fair share of our expenses as a community.
He was paying child support.
Well, what do you want me to do? Give him a gold medal for that? He made children. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Put your hand down. He's support.
Yes.
A lot, not a little.
Right.
So if I wanted to be supportive, I would be as supportive as possible if you were a reasonable grandparent of my 3 grandchildren and said to my son, listen, I tried my best with you. Maybe my best wasn't good enough, but I'm certainly not going to annoy the mother of my grandchildren who's trying to keep it together. Do you get my drift?
She wasn't
That's
trying to keep it together.
Do you get my drift?
I understand you, yes.
Perfect. And I wouldn't sue her for a stupid card table because that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterpart.
Terrell Taggart claims ex-fiancé Travis Miller owes for false allegations of assault, money taken from a joint bank account, and his share of wedding expenses.
Miss Taggart, you and Mr. Miller were engaged to be
Yes, ma'am.
married. You have a child from a previous relationship,
Yes, I do.
and the 3 of you live together.
Yes.
There came a time when that engagement and that relationship terminated. You were in the process of planning a wedding, and it is your claim that Mr. Miller owes you for a whole host of things. First, false allegations that he made with regard to an incident where he claimed that you bit him and assaulted him, emptying out a bank account that was yours, not giving you property back that belonged to you, and wedding expenses that you paid for. Mr. Miller says he doesn't owe you a dime. He also paid for wedding expenses. He says that the allegations of assault were absolutely true. He doesn't have any property that belongs to you anymore, and he really wants you to move on with your life because he says that his life has been made unbearable by you and your family, who have embarked on a constant course of harassment, including filing of multiple lawsuits.
Yes,
So
Your Honor.
far, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, when did this blissful relationship commence?
We got engaged on September 16th of 2005.
Were you living together at the time?
We didn't move in together until the next month.
You moved in together in whose home?
We rented an apartment together, and we both signed the lease.
And when was this argument that terminated the relationship?
The argument happened on May 10th, which was 10 days before the wedding was supposed to happen.
Is that when the assault allegedly took place, sir?
Approximately, Your Honor.
Not approximately.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Taggart?
Yes, ma'am. I had gone to Morgan, where all of the wedding arrangements were to take place, to finalize the cake and the
Flowers.
flowers. I called him at work and told him I was going to be going, and he didn't want me to go.
Why didn't you want her to go?
Well, because, Your Honor, I wanted to participate in the, the formalizing of this wedding.
And he told you that.
No, he did not tell me that.
What did he tell you?
He just told me that he didn't want me to go, and previously he'd told me that he didn't want anything to do with planning it, that it was my wedding and I was in charge of planning it.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I went to him, called me several times, and it was very upset. And
Well, what did he say to you when he called?
He would just yell at me. He was mad at me because I talked to my mother about how he was upset with me. He didn't want me to even talk to my mother about it.
Miss Taggart, I'm not getting a full picture. After you spoke to him on the phone and he was upset with you, did you call your mother?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why did you call your mother?
I called my mother because when I talked to him on the phone, I was very upset, and I just wanted to call and mostly have somebody just help me calm down so that I wasn't so upset. I was going to finalize wedding plans, and I didn't want to have tears running down my face when I was doing it.
Go ahead.
I finalized the wedding plans, and I called him when I was on my way home, as he'd asked, and he said, well, we'll just talk when you get home. And so I got home, and my son was asleep, and so I took him to bed in our bedroom.
How old is your son?
He's 7 now. He was 6 at the time.
If he was sleeping, where was he sleeping?
He was asleep in the car on the way home.
So you went to finalize the wedding plans with your son?
Yes.
And when you got home, you put your son to bed in your bedroom?
Yes.
Is that where he usually sleeps?
Yes, he had a bed in the front room, but he'd often come and slept in our bed.
That's not an answer, Miss Tackett. 7 years old, they're supposed to sleep in their own room if they have a room. When he slept in your room, where did he sleep?
He would just sleep in the bed. I laid him in there because I knew that Travis and I were going to be having a conversation, and I didn't want it to wake him. So I put him to sleep in our bed. And Travis was standing by the bathroom door when I got home. He gave me a hug, and I went and I sat on the couch in our front room, And a few minutes later, he came and he sat down in the chair across from me. And he started asking me questions and something about like $1,600 missing from the bank account. And I told him it was just all finalizing wedding plans.
Did you have a joint checking account?
We did. He was put on the checking account 2 months prior to this.
And you were working at the time?
Yes.
Who were you working for?
I was working for the Huntsman Cancer Hospital.
And you?
Yes, I'm employed for the state of Utah for JJS, Juvenile Justice Services.
Okay, so you were each depositing your checks in the bank?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this joint bank account? Okay, go ahead.
And so it started to get heated. He started yelling at me about all sorts of things. I remember I was holding a pillow sitting on the couch, and he stood over me, shaking his finger at me, telling me that I was weak and I was worthless, and he couldn't even believe he was attracted to me. And then he asked me to leave, and I was okay with that. At the time, I was fed up with the fight. I was ready to be done with the fight. And so I said, okay, I'll leave. And I went to go back to the bedroom to get my son. And Travis had been drinking prior in the evening. And Travis said, you're not taking him with you. And I said, he's my son and he's going with me. And I tried to get past Travis to go get my son, and he pushed me. And he did this repetitively. He pushed me into the wall, into the kitchen table, into the couch, down on the bed, down on the floor. And I did the pushing and shoving match for a minute, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to call the cops. I grabbed my cell phone and I started to dial 911, and he grabbed my phone and he threw it across the house. After that, I went out and I was kind of freaked out. I stood there for a second, and I decided that I had to get my son. And so I started to get violent with him. I did bite him on the upper left chest. I believe I bit him on the right forearm. I punched him, I kicked him. I was doing everything I could to get my son out of that house.
Why didn't you just go outside and call the police?
A moment of confusion.
Okay.
And so I started to get violent with him. And he said, you're not taking him, he's my son. And I said, you're not to him. And Travis then began to cry. He sat on the floor, and I tried to get past him again to get my son. He then grabbed my legs and threw me to the ground. When I got up again, I started punching him in the top of the head. And I finally got past him. Well, he ran into the bedroom following me, and the fight had escalated, and, we were now in the bedroom. I didn't want my son to wake up, and so I laid on top of his ears. I covered his ears so that he wouldn't wake up.
All right, Mr. Miller, you want to tell me, please, your version of what happened on the night of May 10th?
Yes, Your Honor. While Ms. Taggart is emotional, the events that transpired, yes, I'll tell you. I'd gotten off work around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't drunk. I called to pay my cell phone bill, our cell phone bill, over the phone. And I knew from the day before, because she told me she would like to go do some wedding things, and I asked her, can I go with you? I don't go alone. I said, I got up at 4. Prior to this, I called the cell phone company, and they said, no money in your account. So I got home, and I was a little upset, sober, not drunk. And we did have an argument. Her son was sleeping in our room, and if we did have such a horrendous fight, he would have woken up in the first place. She did assault me. I didn't touch her. She could have called the police at any time. I did ask her to leave at that time because she was emotional. And that's about how it transpired, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Taggart. So let me explain something to you. Let's deal with the false allegations of abuse. There were no false allegations of abuse. You lost your cool, and you assaulted him. That's it. You bit him. You bit him here, you bit him here, you bit him here. I'm not sure whether I believe that he struck you and abused you, because if he did, the police would have arrested him. Did they respond to your home?
They did not. I actually tried to file a police report several times within the following weeks. I went to the desk, and the officer at the desk didn't care. They just shrugged me off.
Okay. There were many ways you could have handled the incident that occurred in your house on the 10th of May. You chose the most inappropriate one. Most appropriate one is if you're having a fight with him, and if you were emotional, which clearly you were, it's not the right time to take your son out of a sleeping bed. There's no question in my mind that Mr. Miller was not going to hurt your son. So you go outside, you cool off, you call your mother, you call the police if you have to. You say, I want to go get my son. But what you don't do is you don't bite him and kick him and scratch him and punch him, and then go inside and put your hands over your son's sleeping ears so that he won't be awake. That's stupid. You agree with that, don't you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Well, then that's your problem. Because that's the right thing to do if you're a reasonable mother. Your daughter is emotional. She's your daughter, isn't it?
Yes.
Your daughter is emotional, and the truth of the matter is, on that day, May 10th, based upon what she told me, she did the wrong thing. She went to finalize wedding plans. He asked her not to go, to wait for him until he got out of work. She went anyway. There's no question he got upset with her. Instead of resolving the issue, she calls her mommy. Certainly, that's not the way two grown-ups are supposed to deal with their wedding plans. Your daughter got emotional. I don't believe Mr. Miller was drunk. I don't believe that for a minute. So, Let's deal with the bank account. You say, Miss Taggart, that Mr. Miller emptied the bank account.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
On what date did he empty the bank account?
It was the day immediately following the fight. It would have been May 11th.
How much money was in the bank account?
There was probably about 350-ish.
What do you mean 350-ish? Show me the account.
I don't know if I have the exact statement for that month.
Well, then I'm not interested in that part of the lawsuit, madam. That's what you're supposed to have here.
Miss
Taggart, if you come to court and you're suing because you say that he emptied out a joint bank account, what you have to bring is you have to bring proof of that. And that would be the bank statement for when he closed that bank account, how much money was in it, and it would also show me how much money was in it the day before the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have that?
I only have the bank statements up until April, so I do not have that one.
Not interested. Okay, so empty out the bank account you don't have any proof of. Wedding expenses. Who was planning the wedding?
I was, as he had told me to.
Who was paying for the wedding?
I was, out of my income tax return.
So?
So that is where I come with the opinion that he owes me at least half of that.
He doesn't. There has to be an agreement. In the event that Mr. Miller said to you, which of course he didn't, I am going to pay for half of the wedding, then that's a contract. But Mr. Miller didn't say that to you. What you want is you want half the wedding expenses because there was no wedding, right?
This is right.
But that's not the way the law works. There's nothing in the law that gives you the right and gives me the right to say to Mr. Miller, well, it didn't work out, and you should pay for half the expenses. That's a different kind of court. It's a court that doesn't exist in this country. Now, what property do you allege that you left at his house?
There is a mirror that was given to me as a Christmas gift from him. He would not allow me to take it because he said it matched the bed that his father had given us as an early wedding present. There's an anatomy book that I like to refer to for work. It's a very expensive Gray's Anatomy book. Just a few little things. I had gone to his house.
Not interested in a few little things, madam. I'm waiting. So far, I have a mirror and a book.
Also, since the bed was given to us as a mutual gift from his father, I believe that I deserve half of the cost of the bed.
Got to get over it, Miss Taggart. Got to move on, Miss Taggart. Didn't work out. Didn't work out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terrell Taggart is accusing her ex-fiancé of false allegations of assault, stealing money from their bank account, and unpaid wedding expenses.
Okay. Did you buy her an anatomy book?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you have it?
No, Your Honor.
Where is it?
About 3 days after she had left, my house was burglarized, broken into, coincidentally enough.
When you say the house was burglarized, what was taken?
Everything from couch, TV stand, television, all appliances, the mirror, blankets, you name it, it was burglarized.
Got it.
Okay.
Miss Taggart, you have to get over it. Move on. Put your hand down. Don't encourage her. Encourage her to move on.
I have encouraged her to
Good.
move on.
Good. Move on. It's over. Find somebody else. Devote all of your energies to something else. It's finished. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Bail bondsman Aaron McAllister says former client Elena Zadevich owes for unpaid bail money.
What were you arrested for, Miss Zadevich?
I was arrested on false charges of domestic violence that my ex filed against me.
I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was
Yes.
it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence.
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail. At her request, she promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
You have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone
No.
to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant.
For whom?
For a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year.
10 months?
Something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa.
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. Have any family here?
Just my 2 children.
How old are they?
6 and 2.
They live with you?
Part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with, my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay, so you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No. When you called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That she would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It was a felony.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it, please?
a bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But
Madam,
listen to me very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You chose.
had a different agreement.
No. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the 4 corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no. Not
yes,
I was forced to sign.
I did sign that agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McAllister.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, you know, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, you know, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car,
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. I go, okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out, she signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay me.
Just a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her, and she never paid you.
Right. I made
When,
repeated
for the first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking about...
Do you have a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What are you, crazy? Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
because he's not telling you the whole truth. What happened, he bails me out.
Are you, just a second, are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements, you're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I want to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
About what
Listen
happened.
to me. You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What did I lie about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I lie?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. That's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, you told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company, doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. Maybe you could work for my company.
And
that's not an agreement.
No,
that's not. No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no contract.
I said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
So he said,
no,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have
you are,
a
because
letter.
according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along because if he said to you, you sign this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said?
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off, right? Right?
I was very stressed.
Oh, listen, it's not the first time you were arrested. That's why I asked you the question before.
Yeah,
it's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money. You owe him his money. Don't be a con artist. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Charnita Christopher is suing her former friend and child care provider, Vashni Dixon, for her share of money paid to Vashni by the state. Vashni is countersuing for unpaid child care fees.
Miss Christopher, Miss Dixon was a friend of yours.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it is your claim that at some point she needed some assistance. You needed some assistance with child care, and the state was paying for your child care costs.
Yes,
you engaged Miss Dixon to watch your children with the following arrangement, that she would share those child care responsibilities with your aunt, and then they would split the check. It is your claim that when Miss Dixon got the check, she kept the whole check for herself, and you want half the check so that you can give it to your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dixon says that there was no aunt, that she watched the children, but that you wanted her to split the county check. You would keep half, and she would keep half, and she felt that that was very unfair since she had the responsibility of watching the children. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is nonsense. Her counterclaim wants you to pay the difference between what the county paid for child care and what she thinks she deserves for child care, the overage, because that's what it says in the contract from the state. Well, that's not the contract you had with her, Miss Dixon.
When she told me, we made the agreement.
Miss Dixon, that wasn't your agreement that she was going to pay you extra.
She was supposed to pay me $4 an hour. The state was supposed to pay that to me that they wouldn't pay all of that. It's her responsibility to pay.
It's not her responsibility.
How is it not her responsibility?
Because I say so. Because that wasn't your contract with her. Now, how many children do you have?
3.
How long have you been receiving child care money from the state for the 3 children?
Approximately a year.
Starting when?
It started again March 27th of 06.
And where were you working in March?
I wasn't working. It was for me to be able to look for employment at that time.
Well, did you find employment?
I found employment July 3rd. I was hired at Glamour Shots.
So you're telling me from March 27th until July 3rd, the state was paying you to look for a job?
Yes.
To watch your children?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she start to babysit for you?
August 7th, 2006.
And where were you working at that time?
I wasn't working.
Well, what happened to the job that you started in July?
Oh, August, Glamour Shots. I'm sorry, Glamour Shots.
Are you still working there?
No, ma'am.
When did you stop working there? It's very easy to find out by calling them. When
August
did you
15th.
stop?
August 15th. I have my check stubs.
All right, so you worked there for a month.
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you leave there?
Because they weren't giving me enough hours.
Well, so you left that job because they weren't giving you enough hours, and you went to a situation where you weren't working at all?
Yes, ma'am. There was a lot of other issues with that job.
So the county wasn't really getting a great bang for their buck by paying for your 3 children for daycare while you're looking for a job, and you had a job for a total of 1 month when you quit because they weren't giving you enough hours. Something doesn't sound right there, Miss Christopher. So she started working August 7th, and now a week later you're not working. So what are you doing when she's watching your children?
Out looking for work.
What does that mean?
I have to go to the workforce center, and they work with me to help me look for work.
Well, how many days a week do you go to the center?
It could be 4, sometimes 5.
Could it be 3?
It depends on what my job counselor...
When did you go to work?
Where did I go to work?
When? First is when?
I haven't. I'm looking for work right now. My children are not in child care right now at all.
So she started to work on August 7th. And when did you stop working?
I left her house on September 4th, I believe.
So you were there for 4 weeks?
Yeah.
How many hours a day did you watch the children, or did you live in her house?
She'd leave around maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't get back till like 8 o'clock at night.
What about this aunt? Do you know anything about an aunt?
I never heard anything about her aunt watching her kids before this.
Where's the aunt?
She's at home.
She's not here?
No.
Well, how do you expect to prove to me that somebody else babysat for your children?
I have the proof.
Show me. What kind of proof are you showing me?
Oh, it's the hours that my aunt kept the children. She typed this up. She
Well,
has a license.
I don't accept that, Miss Christopher. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, that's what I have.
Well, your case is dismissed. My dear, she got a check for watching your children. You have no proof that somebody else watched your children. Ridiculous. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Helen Levi says her daughter's ex-boyfriend, Dion Burdett, crashed 2 of her cars. Helen says on the second occasion, Dion was driving drunk.
What's your first name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, this used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
Your mother's complaint is that on 2 separate occasions involving 2 separate cars that she bought for you, you allowed Mr. Wonderful over here to drive the cars and he totaled them.
Yes.
The first incident, there was insurance, and there was a $500 deductible. Second instance, she bought you another car. You again allowed, what's your first name?
Dion.
Dion, to drive the car because you don't learn from your mistakes. And he totaled the second car.
Yes.
Then you decided you had enough.
Yes, that's correct.
When was the first accident, Dion?
January 26th.
Tell me about that.
I asked her to leave me the car in case I
Were you
needed to
living
go.
together?
Yes.
How long had you been living together?
Approximately 6 months.
You asked her to leave you the car. Why?
In case I needed to go somewhere because I didn't have insurance on my vehicle at the time.
Where was she going?
She was going to school.
And what were you doing that day?
I just sat at home all day until I went to pick her up and had an accident.
Was that a weekday?
Yes.
Well, were you going to school at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Were you working at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
I'm not really sure, Your Honor.
Well, how long was it that you weren't working, Dion?
Approximately 3 months.
Who was supporting you? Get her a copy of that book, Beauty Fades, Dumb is Forever. You were supporting him?
I wasn't really supporting him. My parents were helping me pay the rent. I was just helping him out.
So your parents were supporting him?
They were.
News to me.
See what you find out? What do you do for a living?
I'm a housewife.
And your husband?
He's an investment representative.
So he works?
Yes, he does. Very hard.
How long have you been married?
22 years.
In the 22 years that you've been married, how many months has your husband been out of work?
None.
Never?
Never.
Right? Never. How old are you?
22 years old, Your Honor.
Before you moved in with Jennifer, where were you living?
At my parents' house, Your Honor.
What does your father do?
He is an airplane mechanic at O'Hare Airport in Chicago.
Do you ever remember a time when your father sat around eating bonbons for 3 months and not working?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Why do you think that is, Dion?
Because he has children to pay for, Your Honor.
Because he likes to eat.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like to live in the street.
No.
Now, when you left your parents' house, were you working?
Yes, I was.
Where were you working?
Cub Foods.
Doing what?
I was in the meat department, cashier. Dairy
What happened to that job?
I lost it.
Why?
Due to too many absences.
Why were you absent?
I was sick, road conditions, stuff like that happens.
What was wrong with you?
I had the flu. I mean,
for 3 months?
No, not for 3 months, but I mean, I was out of work for 3 months.
All right, now let's get to the first accident, Dion, because I've tortured you about your responsibility in growing up long enough, because even I'm getting bored with it. I don't know if I'm getting through to you, sir. If you want to be a grown-up and live out on your own, you have to work. 22 years old, still not fully cooked, probably, but that doesn't mean you live off the kindness of strangers. She's a stranger to you. She has her own children, and if she's supporting her daughter, and if her husband is supporting her daughter, they don't have to support you, too.
That's true.
Thank you. So you asked her to leave you the car just in case she wanted to go looking for a job that day.
True.
I almost forgot how entertaining this could be. Sort of forgot how dumb people can be. All right, so you kept the car so you could go and look for a job, but you didn't go and look for a job. Where did you go, Dion?
I didn't go anywhere.
You mean the car had an accident in the house? How did that happen? Explain that to Officer Byrd. He would really like to hear that.
I was on my way to pick her up from school, Your Honor.
Had you gone anywhere else that day?
No, I haven't.
You just stayed home and watched Oprah?
Yeah, I guess. That's what you say.
No, you tell me what you did.
Oh, well, I didn't watch Oprah, but
What
I
did you watch?
TV.
You watched me.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Like I said,
you would have watched me more frequently, Dion, you would never be here today. Never.
That's true.
Happen.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so you went to pick her up from school, and what happened?
I was at a four-way stop. I stopped at the stop sign, looked both ways, looked forward. Nobody was going, so I started going. Here comes a car. Bam. Took off the front end, airbags, everything.
Okay, so this car came out of nowhere.
Well, it was sitting at the stoplight, a stop sign, when I looked left, and it wasn't going, so I just barely tapped on the gas, just started going, and then here comes this Mustang out of nowhere.
The plaintiff says you got a ticket for failing to yield.
True.
So then I guess the accident was your...
No.
Did you pay the ticket?
No, I didn't.
Did you have a trial?
Yes.
Were you found guilty or not guilty?
I didn't go.
Well, if you didn't go, then you were found guilty?
No, I wasn't, because they still got the insurance money.
We're not talking about insurance money, we're talking about ticket. You got a ticket for failure to yield. My question is a very simple one, Dion. You have to pay attention. I know you've been resting your brain for a long time, so you should be able to pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Ticket. Did you pay the ticket?
No, I didn't pay the ticket.
Was the ticket dismissed?
Yes.
Was it dismissed after a hearing?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't even want to go there anymore. Right? All right. So that's the first accident. And that car was totaled. You had a $500 deductible.
Correct.
When your daughter called you and told you that the boyfriend had totaled the car, what did you say to her?
I didn't know the boyfriend had totaled the car right at first. It was some time before I found all the facts.
She told you she had totaled the car?
She said it had been wrecked.
How did she tell you it had been wrecked?
It went through a stop.
It went
intersection. The road conditions were icy. Had a lot of ice on the road.
Who did she tell you was driving?
I finally dragged it out of her that he had been driving.
Did you lie to your mother, Jennifer?
I had just told her that I was the one who got in the wreck because I didn't want to have to
deal with...
Yeah, I didn't want to deal with the whole...
All right, now that was January 26th, and then you said, okay, I'm going to get her another car because she needs a car to go to school.
Right.
How much money does your husband make?
Not enough to be buying her a car every year or two because he wrecked it.
Now, when did you wreck this second car, Dion?
On or about May 20th.
Tell me about that.
I had dropped Jennifer off at approximately 10 o'clock p.m.
Where?
At her friend's house. Told her specifically...
Was this a Saturday or a Sunday?
Saturday.
Where were you working then?
I was, believe...
That's not so long ago, sir. Where are you working now?
Painting.
Portraits? Houses?
No, houses.
Houses. You're going to have to stop paying me if you enjoy this job so much. When did you start painting houses?
3 months ago.
So that would bring you into June. Now, so in May, were you working?
No, I wasn't. I was in search of a job due to previous legal problems.
What kind of legal problems?
Truthfully?
No, I want you to lie to me.
I mean, I can if you want me to. I'm not going to,
Don't be a wise guy, sir. I will grind you into the carpet. Go ahead.
I got a felony and
For
about
what?
distributing marijuana, 1 ounce, 10 to 30 grams.
That's what you were doing. Now I understand. In between painting and meatpacking, you were distributing marijuana.
No, I did a favor for somebody that I thought was a friend and obviously wasn't, and told on me, and I got in trouble for it.
So it was somebody else's fault?
No, it wasn't anybody else's fault but my own for trusting somebody else.
So you were doing a favor for somebody, you weren't going to get paid for it?
Right.
You weren't going to get a piece of the action for it? At least if you were selling it and making some money, I could understand that. You're a real idiot. All right. So now you're looking for a job. And in May, you drop her off at a friend's house and told her...
Specifically that I was going to a local bar and I have a few drinks and I'd be home early. Turns out I had a few too many and got a DUI. I blew up .242, had a fatal accident, could have ended my life. Life-changing experience.
Just a second. Wasn't fatal?
No, it wasn't fatal. I mean,
you have
it could
to
have been.
watch your words with me.
Right.
You have to watch your words.
Sorry.
You didn't kill anybody.
No, I didn't kill anybody, but it could have easily happened. I ran into a pole going 70 miles an hour.
So why aren't you responsible for the car, sir?
She willingly gave me the car knowing I was going to the bar. I didn't pressure her. I didn't put a gun to her head and say, give me the car. She said, okay, be back early. And I accept full responsibility for drinking and driving.
That's okay, because I'm going to enjoy this. Just go ahead and do your thing.
So your defense is that it was not your fault that you were given the car because she should have said, you can't take the car if you're going to drink. Leave the car here and go, take a bus to go to the bar.
I accept full responsibility for drinking and driving. I'm paying for it dearly. I have the papers right here to prove it.
How are you paying for it?
I have 100 hours community service. I have $1,900 in fines, and I lose my license for a year or maybe more.
Well, how does that help Miss Levi?
I've given Jennifer $600 already.
You've given her $6, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you accept responsibility for this accident. It's not Jennifer's fault.
No.
Jennifer is stupid.
It's not Jennifer's
Jennifer's going to read the book, cover to cover, backwards and forwards. Don't hook yourself up with a loser. If you hook yourself up with a loser, you're a loser. What kind of school are you going to?
At the moment, I'm just working full-time. I'm trying to save money so I can go back to school.
If you're going to school and moving forward and your family is trying to help you get there, you don't hook up with a loser who's unemployed. You don't hook up with was he arrested for this distributing marijuana while he was living with you?
No, that was way before I met him.
But you knew about it?
I did find out about it eventually.
Well, it seems to me Dion kept a lot of things from you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400. Thank you. That's all.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan?
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 to $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400. What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento, and to me that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe her 100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do, but she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why?
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me, you can see this on the bingo paper, with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest. Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question.
Listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please,
Because you
enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today. The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Kathy Jesse claims psychic Leon Legant borrowed money from her and never paid it back. Leon says the loan was repaid with free psychic readings. He is countersuing for slander.
According to what I read in the complaint several years ago, you knew Mr. Legant, who was a psychic reader?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he owns a psychic school?
Correct.
How long had you known him?
I first met him in 1998.
How?
I saw an advertisement of his in a newspaper.
And have you been using him for readings since?
Counseling, yes.
What particular training do you have?
Clairvoyant training of a 1-year intensive, 3 years of teacher's training. I have over 6 years of training. I also have my certificates if you'd like to see those.
In any event, you wanted to take a trip. Mr. Legant was interested in going. We discussed it. He didn't have the money. According to you, you loaned him the money to go, and the understanding was that he would pay you back either in cash or readings.
True.
He went on the trip. For a while, he did, in fact, pay you back by doing readings. Somebody would keep a record of, I assume, of how much each reading was, and you would check off how much was left on the debt. At some point, he missed a scheduled appointment.
Well, actually, Your Honor, he was making payments also. There was no set schedule for our appointments. It was whenever we decided.
So he was paying in cash as well?
Actually, yes. That was mostly the agreement.
In check and or cash?
He would deposit it directly into my account, and sometimes he paid in cash, and sometimes he wrote a check. I have the deposit slips.
I'd like to see them.
Sure.
You mean he had your bank account number?
Well, yes.
Did you have a...
Well, it wasn't very friendly in terms of a social relationship. I mean, we knew each other professionally, and I trusted him as a teacher and my mentor.
All right, so I see you made some payments to her.
That's correct.
So you consider this a loan?
No.
Well, what was it for?
It was a donation.
No. What was the money that you paid her?
That was the interest. Initially, this is the 3rd trip I've been on with Miss Jessie.
We're talking about only this one, sir.
Okay. So in this case, Miss Jessie wanted me to go on a 2nd trip to the Philippines. I clearly explained to her that that was not something I could afford. So she decided to make a donation to the school so that the school could sponsor my trip. In exchange for that donation, she was to receive hours of readings. The payment she received was when she asked for me to cover the interest on her visa. And I agreed to do that. I was grateful for the donation. I was grateful for the donation. I have the donation right here. I have the check.
I see it too.
It says donation with a big smiley face.
Were these paid out of a private account or the school account?
It was paid out of the school's account.
So all these checks were school checks? None yours?
Right.
You're not very clairvoyant, sir. Show this to the defendant, please. That's not the school's account, is it?
Oh, no. I may have used my own account to make a check payment. That's entirely possible.
What?
Yeah, you didn't see that one coming, did
What?
you?
You didn't see that one coming at all? Show him this one. Your account or the school's account?
That's my account.
One more. Uno más on this page.
Also my account. Your Honor, the...
Stop! I'm not going to read your account number, sir, but it also appears that when cash was deposited directly into her account, it was deposited directly into her account with the same numbers on the accounts that were on these checks.
Can I see that?
Yes, certainly. Here you go.
Huh, that's interesting. Because when I called the bank to get copies of this so that I would know in preparation for you, they explained to me there was no way to trace that information.
Well, you do see what I'm looking at, don't you?
I do see what you're looking at. And the agreement I had with her was to pay the interest on her card.
All I'm asking you is whether the cash and the checks that she ascribes to this loan came out of the school's account or out of your personal account.
Right.
So you would be saying now that it came out of your personal account.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I believe there were others that were taken from the school's
I'm
account.
looking to see yours.
And
you have
like
any
I
proof?
said, the bank said
Listen,
they
no,
couldn't
no.
trace this
No,
information.
listen to me, sir. Listen to me. Show me any checks that you have from the school to pay her.
I don't have those.
I do, however, see some checks, sir, that just say banks like they're from a different account.
That's right.
So sometimes you paid out of your personal account and sometimes you paid out of the school account. You getting my drift, sir?
Not fully.
Well, when you have a business and you start commingling money as to what is a business expense and what is not, you have a serious problem.